Welcome to Knowledge for the Soul. It's a podcast where we talk about different topics applicable to life and health, and we break them down in an easily digestible way. We talk about how these different topics impact your life on a physical level, on a psychological level, and a spiritual level. We go through these different aspects, these different filters, and then we talk about different solutions that may be available. So today's topic is going to be on the topic of anxiety. So let's talk about what anxiety is, right? Anxiety, at the core of it, is the body's alarm system. It's a mix of physical and mental responses to stress or anger. It is how we can stay alert when we are presented with something significant, right? When you're talking about like symptoms about what anxiety is, some of the things that you can experience include a rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, shallow breaths, and you kind of have some scanning eyes. Your brain is scanning for threats. You may be thinking very fast or thinking about a lot of different things because you're scanning to identify what it is that's got you feeling anxious. Your nervous system is yelling danger. It's telling you, oh my God, something's going on. And sometimes we can be disadvantaged by this system that our body has because it can go off even when there is no actual danger. And some of us I know can relate to this. We experience this. We feel just a general sense of anxiety even when we're in a safe environment. I can speak for myself that I certainly have had to deal with anxiety. I've been grappling with anxiety for over, at this point, I want to say easily 10 to 12 years. Anxiety used to cripple me because that's what anxiety, when not processed in a constructive manner, can do to you. It can cripple you. It can paralyze you. It can cause you to overthink. It can keep you awake at night. It can cause you to feel like you're not able to be in a social situation and cause you to withdraw. It can also affect your job. It can cause strain in your relationships, including romantic relationships. Anxiety can also affect your self-confidence, your self-esteem. It's like living with a fog that just distorts reality. It can make small tasks seem insurmountable. But with all those negative aspects of anxiety, there are some aspects that are pretty positive, okay? It can be useful. Anxiety tells your body to be prepared. So, some of the positive symptoms that you can experience with anxiety when it's channeled in a constructive manner is your reflexes are sharpened. Your body starts to prepare. Your heart rate increases, but not too much, enough to get your body ready for physical action. Think about running, think about avoiding something, think about getting a sudden burst of energy to begin some tasks that you probably know need to get done. And that's when anxiety can help your body in a positive way. So let's talk about the physical aspects of how anxiety impacts the body. Anxiety uses energy. So it's important to know that when you are experiencing anxiety, you are burning up energy. Now, as long as you, of course, make sure that you're hydrated, that you're eating food, and getting plenty of rest, this isn't necessarily a negative thing. But if you're not doing those things, it can certainly become a negative thing. So it's important to understand that anxiety on a physical level uses energy, okay? Psychologically, Anxiety makes you alert, makes you aware, makes you analytical even. Um, those are some of the positive aspects of how psychology can affect you psychologically. However, if it becomes overwhelming, well, then your thinking is actually diminished. You're not able to process and think things through in a capacity that even someone in a calm state of mind can. So, psychologically, this is how anxiety can be impacting you, depending on your level of control over it. Because when it comes to anxiety and psychology, it's important to understand that you do have control over it. And anxiety, much like a sword, much like any tool, when used properly, can work for you, but when used improperly, can cause collateral damage and even cripple you. So that's an important aspect of the psychological aspect of anxiety that I want you all to keep in mind, that I keep in mind as well. Now, spiritually, anxiety can make you feel as if you aren't in a positive space in your life. Anxiety is often described as worry of the future. And I believe that's pretty accurate. Anxiety is worry of the future, worry of the what ifs. And spiritually, that can absolutely throw you off your base and make you feel as though you are not heading in a direction that you want to go. So that's how anxiety can impact you spiritually. But of course, when anxiety is channeled in a constructive way, when you have control over anxiety and you learn to make it work for you, the self-confidence that anxiety can bring can actually have the opposite effect, in that you feel that you are capable of going in the direction that you want to go. So it can make you feel spiritually capable, spiritually fulfilled in terms of what you can bring to the table in your own life to make the changes that you need. That's what happens when anxiety is channeled properly on a spiritual level. Okay, now let's go over some of the different strategies that you can use to help you with battling or managing anxiety. One of the most important things that you can do with managing anxiety, and I tell my patients this all the time when I'm on the field as a registered nurse, is to breathe. I cannot stress how important it is to make sure that you're doing your deep breathing when it comes to managing anxiety. A lot of people don't realize, but when you're feeling anxiety or feeling anxious and you're not controlling it, your breathing is very shallow. And that causes your chest to feel tight. That's what's causing your chest to feel tight. And that shallow breathing is preventing your body from, one, relaxing, and two, getting a proper amount of oxygen. And so what does that do? That accelerates your heart rate. And that accelerated heart rate doesn't feel very good unless you're exercising, in which case it's sort of a neutral feeling because you need to be able to sustain that. But when you're at rest with an elevated heart rate, it does not feel good. And when you couple the emotional aspect of it or the psychological aspect, you're not feeling good. So the another thing too about those shallow breaths is it activates a system in the body that we have. We have two nervous system modes in the body. We have the parasympathetic mode, which is your relaxed, calming aspect of your nervous system. It's what makes things in your body slow down and calmer. And your digestive system actually depends on this particular state of nervous system operation. And on the opposite side, what we have is the sympathetic nervous system. the sympathetic nervous system, it has to do with acceleration of all bodily functions, including your heart rate, including your breathing, including your blood pressure. And this is what gets you ready for things. But when not controlled, this burns energy and it is not productive for you. And when not controlled, it does not enable critical thinking, right? So how do you break this cycle, right? This cycle that's also connected to a system in the brain known as the limbic system. If you guys take a moment in your spare time and do a little bit of research on the limbic system, it's basically a chain reaction in the body that activates under stress. And it is designed as a survival response, but it can oftentimes make us very frantic and thus prevent us from thinking clearly and thinking critically. Okay, so breathing, when it comes to coping with anxiety, is probably easily the most important thing that you can do to help get control of anxiety. Sometimes there is a situation that's worthy of being aware, worthy of being alarmed. I see this all the time on the field. There are many different things, many different symptoms that my patients exhibit that I absolutely need to be aware of, that I need to act on. Hey, what's going on, that dog? Welcome to the chat. Doing a podcast. I'll be doing one every week. I do it on here, I record it, and I'm going to be uploading it to my platforms, and I'm using my Twitch as a way to do it. How are you? I'm doing good myself. We're talking about anxiety and how anxiety, when not used in a constructive manner, can be crippling to people, and it can cause their brain to overthink. It can make simple tasks insurmountable. It can cause you to experience all these physical symptoms, and it can also impede your spirituality and your connection with yourself and how you feel in terms of control over your life. So right now, specifically, I was talking about how do you cope with those things. And one of the most important things that I was sharing was when I'm out on the field, as a registered nurse, I see people oftentimes impacted with anxiety. And one of the biggest things that you can do to help gain control over that is deep breathing, because anxiety sort of sets off a chain reaction in the body from the rapid heartbeat, the shallow breaths, and just this general sense of feeling in danger. And that accelerates your body, and it can be useful under certain circumstances, but oftentimes it's not useful in the circumstance that people find themselves in with this feeling. So deep breathing can sort of break that cycle. It can cause your heart rate to slow down. It can get rid of that feeling in your palms, that sweaty palms feeling, and it can allow you to take a moment to say, hey, what is this that's making me feel threatened? And is it something that I need to be concerned about? Or what's the proportional response to that threat that's appropriate? Deep breathing is one of the biggest things that I tell my patients when I see them going through an anxious moment. Oftentimes, these symptoms, the rapid heartbeat, the shallow breathing, and this general sense of not feeling well, makes them feel that they're having a medical event, which, if you look at it from the mental health aspect, they are having a medical event, but from the physical aspect, they're not having a medical event. And we know this because we look at all their different vital signs. We do different tests, like testing their blood sugar and other things, like looking at pulses and skin, like the color of the skin, the texture of the skin, all those different things we're doing. And they're all checking, the green check marks. They're all looking very well, yet this person is feeling like something's happening, and they don't realize that because they're not controlling their anxiety, they're changing the physiology of their body, and that is making them feel that something is actually happening. It's affirming that in their mind, and it can take a lot to snap them out of it. Usually what we'll do is we'll call our mental health professionals to help assist with this, a patient experiencing this. But one of the number one things that I tell them, and I tell myself this very same thing, is deep breathing. It's huge. Exactly. So deep breathing is one of the most important things that you can do to help manage anxiety. It's probably the number one. Other things that you can do is, for example, naming 5 things that you see. Taking a moment, look around the room, and let's just name what you see. That can snap your mind out of this sort of a recurring roller coaster that's going on when anxiety is just being let loose. Changing mindset is absolutely important. Yes, I agree. That's one way to cope with anxiety. I would say how you perceive what it is that's threatening you is correlated to your mindset of what that threat is, right? I'll give an example. I'll give an example from my personal life, right? I'm fortunate. I have, monetary advantages that others don't, but still I get a huge source of anxiety when looking at my budget. When I look at my expenses for the year, I feel anxious, right? Now, I can continue to feel that way, right? And allow myself every time I look at my budget to feel anxious. Or, as you said, that dog, thank you, Asim Horrors. I'm doing my podcast on anxiety, and we're talking about the different strategies to cope with it. We were talking about what it is, and right now I'm talking with that dog about how you can change your mindset. So as I was saying, when I look at my budget, I feel anxiety, and I can continue to do that on repeat, right? That dog. Or I can decide to look at my budget from a different perspective and look at it as it's just part of life, or it's not something to be anxious, or I can even look at it as something relaxing to do. Because if you think about it, you're just looking at numbers, right? That dog. And hi, Tyga, welcome on in. I'm doing my once a week podcast episode. It's called Knowledge for the Soul. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. This is episode 7. Thank you for coming on in. And we're talking about anxiety. And I'm glad that you love that, Horrors, because I love talking about psychological topics, and I love talking about different ways that we can cope with them and how they impact our lives on a physical level, psychological level, and spiritual level. So yes, we're talking about anxiety. We talked about how it affects the body, increasing your heart rate, making your breaths shallow. You can make your palms sweaty, and how when it's not controlled, it can make even small tasks feel insurmountable. But when you control it, when you're able to manage and cope with anxiety, it can be sort of a superpower in which your brain is very sharp and your physical reflexes are elevated to a point of extreme speed. And spiritually, when you don't have control over your anxiety, you can feel like you don't have control over your life. You can feel scared or powerless. But when you do have control over it, you feel very confident in your own ability to affect your environment in a fashion that's satisfying to you, right? So other coping mechanisms other than breathing, deep breathing, which is the primary thing I tell my patients during medical emergencies, is that you need to take a moment and focus on your breathing. Is you can point at 5 different things in a room and name them. Other things that you can do is take a walk, all right? Take a nice, calming walk, and that can help you. Other things that, like that dog was mentioning, changing your mindset, right? So reframing your thoughts, right? Because when anxiety is left uncontrolled, it's sort of like a spiral, and it's almost like a roller coaster. Think of a roller coaster. Once it starts going down, more things start to stack up as that roller coaster goes down, right? And that can make it much harder to bring it back to a level area where you can operate in a sustainable fashion, because anxiety costs energy. That's no matter if you use it constructively or not, it costs energy, right? So just keeping that in mind, that it's not sustainable to be anxious all the time, right? But using it in a constructive manner is helpful and beneficial in life. But not using it in a constructive manner, you can burn so much energy and tire yourself out. Ultimately, it could even add to that anxiety later down the line, right? Because you're not getting anything done when you are experiencing uncontrolled anxiety, right? So reframing your thoughts is one way to cope with it. Another way to cope with it, and this I used personally back when I was 19 years old. I'm 32 now. But I use this a lot because I oftentimes had so much anxiety, I didn't know where to start to help make myself feel better. Journaling is one important method that I used, and that's recommended to be used to deal with anxiety. And what you do when it comes to using journaling for anxiety specifically is you write down one thing that worries you, one thing that you think may be causing it, and then you write down another, and you just keep writing. You just keep writing. And for me, my experience was when I was writing these things down, one thing at a time, when I wrote down the strongest source of anxiety, it was almost like a light bulb went off in my head. And I knew, somehow I knew, this is what's bothering me the most. This is what it is. Oh my God, this is the biggest thing, right? So when you write down these different things in a list when you're journaling, you can start to take care of each one depending on the priority. So you can be like, well, this is easily fixable, right? Or this is going to take some time, right? So you can start to kind of chop it down and therefore gain back that control of your anxiety. And it helps rewire the brain and the thought process, right? As well. And sometimes the things that worry you aren't actual significant objects in your path. Your brain, as amazing of a tool as it is, can get in your way and create obstacles that are just simply not there, right? So journaling, very helpful in managing anxiety and identifying the particular causes of anxiety, right? So another coping mechanism that's very helpful, and I use this too, this actually helped me a lot, is meditation. Okay, about 10 minutes a day is going to help make a huge difference. If you're somebody that experiences chronic anxiety, I absolutely recommend this, because doing 10 minutes of meditation allows you to activate that nervous system response, which I talked about a little bit earlier before you guys joined the chat, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system, because our nervous system operates on two different levels, excitability and calmness. Calmness is that parasympathetic nervous system. Excitability, that is your sympathetic nervous system, right? And they both have their uses. But when you're somebody who experiences chronic anxiety, you need to practice getting your body in that mode of the parasympathetic mode, because like I said, anxiety burns energy and you need to rest. We all need to rest, and 10 minutes of meditation will teach your body, teach you how to activate that aspect of your nervous system and calm yourself down. It can also help you get control of your limbic system, which we talked a little bit briefly about before you guys joined. But your limbic system is sort of like your emotional response in your brain. And getting control of that is important, because once that trigger goes off, it can make identifying your sources of anxiety and managing them very difficult. So meditation has helped me a lot. It's helped me tremendously in my early 20s gain control of my anxiety, and has ultimately allowed me to be a far more productive person and a lot calmer through a lot of difficult life situations, because life will put us in precarious situations a lot, right? We cannot control that. We cannot control the situations that we find ourselves in with life, but we can control our response to it. And meditation, and specifically meditation in relation to anxiety, gives us the power to control anxiety and to make it work for us. Oftentimes, for me, when I meditated, I often was able to break down what it was that plagued my mind and knew at the end of my meditation the route I wanted to take to address it. And I feel like meditation has made a huge impact on my life personally, and I think studies show that meditation is absolutely helpful when it comes to managing anxiety. Okay, so that being said, just know that anxiety it's a signal. Okay, it's a part of our psychology, a part of our mind that lets us know that something must be done or something is needed to be brought into our awareness. Now, everything after that, think of it like a spidey sense, right? Everything after that, though, is up to us. And I see so many individuals in the medical field, so many of my patients dealing with this. I personally dealt with this, which is what compelled me to talk about it with you guys today on this episode 7 of the podcast, so we can break it down and learn from it, we can tame it, and we can use it to grow. I appreciate you guys listening. We'll be talking about another exciting topic, and I do have someone who wants to be a guest, so we'll have them on the next episode as well. And